The victim's disoriented. He's forced out of his own trunk in what seems like the middle of nowhere. Then they throw a blanket over his head. It's also the first major holiday since the coronavirus pandemic started, with resorts and casinos back open. We're here along Extraterrestrial Highway. That way, civilization, Las Vegas. That way, the wild, Area 51. You used to know it was Extraterrestrial Highway because it had this really iconic sign here. It was covered in stickers, a little bit of graffiti. Today, these cones. Despite China implementing the largest quarantine in human history, coronavirus is spreading. So take a look here. This is how many cases we had just yesterday, 2,835. That was Monday. Over the last 24 hours, that number has more than doubled to nearly 6,000. Welcome to the Tipsy Robot, where the bartender never underpours, never overpours either, and isn't much of a conversationalist. That's the bartender. Usually they're kind of right around here, kind of in the middle, pointed backwards, and they'll catch the license plate. I spent the afternoon here at St. Gabriel talking to staff, parents, students, administrators about this letter that was sent out earlier this afternoon. Coronavirus continues to spread here in the United States, including here in southern Nevada. The state reporting 1,100 new cases today. It's even reignited some conversations about the 1980 MGM Grand Fire. 85 people died, still the deadliest fire in Nevada history. There's 5 vehicles involved. I'm going to try to show you all of them. This is vehicle number 1, this white Mercedes over here. We pan a little bit to the left. Vehicle number 2, you can see the front of this one completely destroyed. Pan a little bit further left. This is probably the most dramatic one. This Planet 13 taxi. All 4 wheels are missing. Every airbag in the vehicle's gone off. And apparently the driver was actually in the back seat. We talked to a guy earlier who tried to go help everyone, found the driver sitting in the back seat. Just past that, there's a gray Honda. That one may be a little bit more difficult to see. That's car number 4. And then the one that started the crash, according to several witnesses we talked to, is this white Camaro down here along the sidewalk. Now, from that white Camaro, if we spin all the way around to this white Mercedes, I walked it off as best I could. That's about 75 yards. We talked to a gentleman earlier who saw the whole thing happen and sprung into action. Metro Police out here on the scene, they did say that impairment could be a factor. Now, I know 4th of July, big holiday, the night may just be getting going for people, but this, please let it serve as an extra reminder. Do not get behind the wheel if you've been drinking and driving. You have Uber, Lyft, every resource possible to get somewhere safe. Do not let something like this happen before the end of the night. Live in Las Vegas, Chris Redfearn, Fox 5 News.
Every pigeon we saw, we were like, howdy partner, howdy partner, howdy partner, like making a joke out of it. I have the short-handled net. And I drive in and I see like 3 pigeons. I'm like, howdy partner. And I was like, oh my God, that's him. Howdy partner.
Remember Mariah Cheyenne and Edgar the diaper-wearing pigeon on a leash from Lofty Hopes? Edgar stayed at home tonight, but ever since that original clip surfaced of who's now known as Cluck Norris, this mother-daughter duo has been trying to track him down to help the poor guy.
There she goes after him. I was shocked. We drove in and I said, okay, everybody keep your eyes out. Look for Cluck Norris, right? For pigeons and hats. And then I kind of laughed. I said, cannot believe we're out here looking for pigeons and hats. You want to see the net, right?
And Fox 5 was right there alongside them.
We chased him around with a net, basically, all over here for 2 hours. He ended up over here, and this was the first flat roof that we saw. And this guy came out and offered a ladder. And so we put a trap up there with food and water. Hopefully we have caught him. Is there anything in it?
There's nothing out here.
Darn it.
So close. But Lofty Hopes isn't giving up.
Do you want to leave it up for the night? We had one with a dart through his head. It took us 2 weeks to catch him.
Cluck Norris might not have a dart through his head, but Mariah and Cheyenne tell me that red hat puts a target on his back for predators.
He was doing a lot of grooming. He wants it off. And there was a lot of feathers around the hat, so you could tell that it was glued.
Today they put out another trap and sent out this birdie bolo.
They like to come out and feed in the morning, and they like to come out and feed in the evening. So every morning and evening we'll be checking that trap.
The victim's been chatting with the girl online for a few weeks now, and they decide to finally meet up here on a Friday night. She gets in his car and says she can get him weed for the night. They end up here, towards the back of Woodlawn Cemetery. The victim sees 2 guys standing in a dark corner and assumes that's who he's buying weed from. But the 2 split up. One goes to his side of the car, the other to the girl's side, where he pulls out a pistol and points it at the victim's head to rob him. Reluctant to give up his things, the report says the victim was pistol whipped and forced into the trunk of his own car. Teenagers wanted into his phone, but it was dead, so they stopped at a Walmart with the victim. Curled up in his own trunk at gunpoint, the girl goes inside to buy a phone charger. Then it's off to the desert. It's dark. The victim's disoriented and he's forced out of his own trunk in what seems like the middle of nowhere. Then they throw a blanket over his head. In the report, the victim says they told him he'd have 5 minutes to run as far as he could before they started shooting. 30 seconds later, gunshots. The victim says he ran and hid in the rugged rocks until he thought it was safe. Exhausted, terrified, the victim stumbles to the road and heads west on Lake Mead Boulevard. Until he found a couple in their car who offered to help. The nightmare finally ended here. The victim was dropped off at this gas station where he was finally able to call the cops. The 3 teens have since been arrested. The ringleader, Baldomero Gutierrez, facing multiple charges including battery, assault, and kidnapping.
They're getting phone calls once a week.
I feel fine.
So people have had the injection.
It was right about here.
They've had the diary to complete for 7 days.
Temperature, and then they wanted to know if I was showing any evidence of any infection.
They'll be coming back 28 days after their first visit.
Confirm my report for later this month, at the end of the month.
We've had a few patients report headache, tiredness, all mild.
But no such symptoms for Ed Alvarado, currently undergoing the Moderna vaccine trials. We talked to him about it back in late July, about a week after he first got that injection.
I was blown away by the number of people who thanked me for getting involved in this, people who thought what I was doing was heroic and brave, and I was very humbled by that, but I just feel like a guy who's doing what he should do.
There's now about 8,000 people total involved in the Moderna vaccine trials. That is 8,000 more than a month ago, but Ed's still part of a very select group of people, something he says he didn't truly appreciate until he saw his own story on TV.
As soon as you said, today I sat down and talked to one of the few people on the planet who's received this vaccine, and I hadn't thought about that at all. And when I did, I thought, whoa, it just really took me back.
Meanwhile, at the Wake Clinical Research Center, the team heads home for some much-needed rest over the weekend. Moderna testing will continue, and now the clinic's also slated to test 2 more potential COVID vaccines starting next week.
The vaccine on Friday wants 1,500 patients.
And they still don't know how many people will be involved in the other new vaccine.
It's exciting and it's exhausting.
We came out here to raid Area 51 and found the truth about what they're hiding.
Thousands of people descend on the outskirts of a military base the U.S. government didn't even acknowledge existed until 2013, all because of this. A late-night Facebook post from Maddie Roberts as a joke. But that joke went viral, and millions, including celebrities, RSVP'd to storm the base, saying famously, "They can't stop us all." As Nevada law enforcement replied, "Oh, yes, we can."
They did threaten that they were going to storm once officers warned them about the consequences for storming the base. They did have second thoughts.
That's Lincoln County Sheriff Kerry Lee. Usually he and his deputies are enough to handle rural Lincoln County, but on the heels of rumors that as many as 20,000 people might show up, the county declared a state of emergency, bringing in security from all over the state.
And those agencies that came in to help last year, because it was a quote-unquote emergency, won't be here for free this year. You know what I mean? Because it's not an emergency. Now, this is something that they're planning for, so it isn't an emergency. I think the county was up to over $250,000 that they are out of pocket.
It's beautiful what's going on out here.
Connie West, owner of the Little Alien in Rachel, Nevada, hosted an event called Alien Stock. It came together last minute, but about 3,000 people showed up. And now she has dates up on her website for another alien-themed festival this fall.
I'm not against it, you know, and I don't think the county's against it. I just want to be totally clear on that, because I know I don't want the people at the Little Alien to think that we have it out for them. We don't. I support anybody doing any kind of a get together as long as it takes care of itself. We cannot foot the bill for it, and that's the biggest thing I can take back from is we cannot foot the bill.
When we asked Connie why she wants to do it again, her response was, why not? While Maddie Roberts says he wants to make something happen again this year in Las Vegas, he just wants the Alien Stock name to be exclusively his.
I'm personally not concerned with her having an event out there. It's not my property. I wish her the best of luck, but I want my name.
We've emailed, called, I physically went to their offices Monday. Nothing. So we sought out someone with insider information, and here's how our interview started.
I'm feeling very concerned. As a Democrat, I want the caucuses to work. I want them to be successful. But I'm afraid that we're on a path to being another Iowa.
This is Seth Morrison, a site leader for the upcoming caucus where I'll oversee 6 precincts in North Las Vegas.
And my job is basically to see to it that they run smoothly.
But Morrison says he has some major concerns with what he's seen so far, especially since Nevada also has to tackle early voting, which Iowa didn't.
The technology to combine the results from early and caucus day, which was supposed to be done by this company called Shadow, clearly didn't work. And they're trying to come up with a fix at the last minute and have not convinced me and many others that they have a fix that will work.
The Nevada Democratic Party's been tight-lipped about the app's replacement, even when Morrison asked about it this week.
The status is we're working on it, trust me, and if I tell you who did it, then they'll be hacked.
To Morrison's knowledge, some kind of app or tool will be pre-uploaded to tablets, distributed to site leaders like him, then to the volunteers.
Half of them were walking around on Saturday saying, what? How does this work? And there were people in that room who said, I've never used an iPad.
From the undisclosed app developer, plans to distribute the iPads ahead of time to volunteers without any real vetting. I asked Morrison if he's worried about the integrity of the election.
Scared stiff. On Saturday afternoon, during that training, I talked to 3 or 4 friends, said this is dangerous. This is going to be worse than Iowa if it's not fixed. And I was told, and I talked personally to party officials who refused to talk to me. I was told from others that they called electeds who refused to talk. And I realized that I'd rather blow the whistle now than have it risk falling apart on caucus day.
A nerve-wracking day here at Mount Charleston as crews battled to contain a fire 10,000 feet up the side of the mountain.
I know I'm pretty close to where it was. Well, I could see it real good. There was a column of smoke going several hundred feet in the air.
Stephen Holman first noticed the plume yesterday afternoon, and he says he panicked.
Because I've seen the results of some fires that have happened in years gone by around here, and I didn't want to see that happen again.
He immediately went down to the closest campground.
I was warning him, yeah. I said, yeah, you know, you should probably be ready to get out of here in a hurry because I don't know if this thing's going to spread rapidly or not.
With no cell service, the only way to call 911 is through one of the camp payphones. At least it was. Last night on Fox 5, we talked to Jimmy Alderson. He's been worried about CenturyLink cutting landlines on the mountain, but even he didn't realize they'd already pulled the phones at the campsites.
This one is right in front of the fire station, so if someone witnesses a fire and tries to report it, they're out of luck. They'll have to drive to the other canyon or drive down to 6,000 feet before they can get any cell service.
Which is exactly what happened. According to the Forestry Service, someone called from all the way over in Kyle Canyon to report the fire because it was the closest place they could find a working phone.
You've got all these people that come through here all the time who just need help.
This time, it wasn't too late.
Picked up a lightning strike fire up about 10,000 foot yesterday above the ski resort here in Lee Canyon.
A large tree went up like a matchstick. Thankfully, it didn't spread. Crews had to hike more than an hour from the top of the ski lifts loaded down with gear just to get there.
They did order up a helicopter today that done 11 bucket drops on the fire to cool the stump area down so they can get guys in there to work it and make all the smoke and all the heat go away.